"I didn't leave you, Claire. You left before I ever had the chance to." The words stopped her cold. The janitor standing across the empty office slowly reached for the brim of his worn baseball cap. Her breathing caught. She knew that voice. 2 years earlier, Claire had walked out of Ethan's life carrying only one suitcase. She hadn't taken his house. She hadn't asked for his money. She hadn't even argued over the company they had built together. She simply looked at him across the kitchen and said, "One day, you'll realize you don't need me anymore. I'd rather leave now than wait for that day." Ethan had spent hours trying to convince her she was wrong. She wouldn't listen. The divorce was finalized 6 weeks later. Everyone assumed Ethan buried himself in work. The truth was much stranger. 3 months after the divorce, he stopped attending the office every evening. Instead, after most employees went home, he arrived through the service entrance wearing gray coveralls, work gloves, old sneakers, and a faded cap. Nobody looked twice at a janitor. That was exactly what he wanted. A faded cap and gray beard disguised his face, while work glasses softened his features. No one expects a CEO to push a janitor's cart at night, so nobody looked twice. Neither did Claire. Officially, his assistant told everyone Ethan was traveling between company branches. Unofficially, the owner was emptying trash cans inside his own building. He wanted to know what happened after executives disappeared. Who people really were when nobody important was watching. If you're curious where this unexpected decision led, leave a like, subscribe, and let's keep going. The first nights changed everything. One accountant secretly stayed late, helping interns finish reports. A supervisor blamed employees for mistakes he had made himself. 2 receptionists spent 20 minutes mocking coworkers they smiled at every morning. The company looked different from behind a mop. Then Ethan noticed Claire. Every night, she was still there, long after everyone else had gone home. She worked alone beneath the glow of her office lamp, surrounded by files that never seemed to get smaller. She looked exhausted, not angry, not bitter, just tired. One evening, she accidentally dropped an entire box of documents across the hallway, papers scattered everywhere. Without thinking, Ethan hurried over. Together, they gathered every page in silence. When she looked up, she smiled politely. "Thank you." He simply nodded. From that moment, something changed. The next evening, she left a fresh bottle of water on his cleaning cart. No note, no explanation. The evening after that, a cup of hot coffee. "I figured nights get cold around here." Again, he only smiled. Word had already spread through the building that the night janitor couldn't speak. Nobody knew Ethan had started that rumor himself. Weeks earlier, someone had asked why he never talked. He had simply touched his throat and smiled. People filled in the rest. Now, everyone believed Edward, the quiet janitor, had been mute for years. Claire believed it too, which meant she never worried about what she said around him. One rainy Thursday, the power flickered. Half the office lights shut off. Only emergency lighting remained. Claire stepped out of her office holding a flashlight. She noticed Ethan quietly replacing a ceiling light panel. "You never seem to stop working." He shrugged. She laughed softly. "I guess we're alike." That surprised him. It was the first genuine laugh he'd heard from her since before the divorce. For a few minutes, they worked in silence. Then she spoke again. "You know what's strange?" She leaned against the wall. "It's easier talking to someone who can't answer." Ethan kept wiping the glass door. Every instinct told him to walk away. Instead, he stayed. "I manage hundreds of people every week." She smiled sadly. "And somehow, I haven't had a real conversation in years." She looked toward the rain running down the office windows. "Funny, isn't it?" He remained silent. She took a slow breath. "I used to think successful people stopped being afraid." She shook her head. "I've never been more wrong." Ethan's hand froze around the cloth. She didn't notice. I was married once. His heartbeat quickened. He was kind. She stared at the dark hallway. Too kind. Ethan closed his eyes for 1 second. She still wasn't looking at him. I kept waiting for him to wake up one morning and realize he deserved someone younger, prettier, easier. She gave a bitter smile. So I convinced myself leaving first would hurt less. The hallway suddenly felt much smaller. Ethan tightened his grip on the cleaning cart. Before he could process another word, the elevator doors opened. Footsteps echoed across the empty floor. Claire immediately fell silent. 2 security guards walked through the hallway chatting about the storm. The moment was gone. She picked up her folder. Good night. She walked away. Ethan stood completely still. For the first time since the divorce, he knew she hadn't left because she stopped loving him. She had left because fear had spoken louder than love. And for the first time, he wondered if pretending to be a janitor wasn't just revealing the truth about his company. It was revealing the truth about his marriage. Claire couldn't stop thinking about the quiet janitor after that night. The next evening, she arrived carrying 2 coffees. She placed one beside Ethan's cart. I know you can't answer me. She smiled sadly. But thank you for listening. He nodded. For the first time in 2 years, Ethan wanted to tell her everything. Instead, he picked up his mop and kept working. The following week became a routine neither of them expected. She stayed late. He cleaned nearby. Sometimes they sat across from each other in the empty break room. She talked. He listened. One Monday evening, she looked at the rain sliding down the windows and whispered, I don't think I've ever told anyone the real reason I got divorced. Ethan slowly turned toward her. She stared into her untouched coffee. Everyone thinks I left because Ethan loved the company more than me. She shook her head. That isn't true. His heartbeat became almost unbearable. He always came home. He always remembered birthdays. He never raised his voice. A long silence filled the room. The problem wasn't him. It was me. She covered her face for a second. I kept imagining another woman. Younger. Smarter. More exciting. I thought someone like Ethan would eventually realize I wasn't enough. So every compliment started sounding fake. Every business trip became suspicious. Every late meeting became proof. She laughed at herself. I created a future that never existed. Ethan looked down. He remembered every argument, every accusation. Every night he tried to explain. She continued quietly. I thought if I left first, it would hurt less. It didn't. It only made the pain permanent. Her eyes filled with tears. I've replayed that morning thousands of times. If I had stayed another hour, if I had believed him instead of my fear, my whole life would be different. Ethan's fingers tightened around the cleaning cloth. She looked at them. Funny, isn't it? I've spent 2 years wishing I could apologize to someone I'll probably never see again. At that exact moment, his phone vibrated. Claire glanced toward it. The screen lit up. Ethan Parker Company owner, calling. Claire frowned. The owner is calling you? Ethan reacted instantly. He turned the screen over before she could read more. She looked confused. I thought janitors didn't get calls from owners. For one terrifying second, he almost told her everything. Instead, he simply pointed toward the supply closet and quietly walked away. That night, he barely slept. The following morning, the board gathered for their monthly executive meeting. One director smiled. Interesting reports lately. Employee morale is higher. Night maintenance has been exceptional. Ethan almost laughed. If only they knew. That evening, he returned wearing the same faded uniform. Claire was already waiting. You disappeared yesterday. She looked genuinely worried. I thought maybe you quit. He slowly shook his head. She smiled with obvious relief. I guess everyone needs someone who listens. Hours passed. The building became silent once again. Finally, Claire stood. I've carried something for 2 years. I don't want to carry it anymore. She walked closer, close enough that Ethan could hear her breathing. You know, I was the fool. I left a man who never stopped choosing me. I've dated since then. I've met successful men. I've met charming men. I've met confident men. She smiled through tears. I never met another Ethan. She laughed quietly. Listen to me. I'm confessing my life to a janitor. Then she whispered the sentence that changed everything. I still love him. If you've ever realized the truth too late, stay with us. The most important moment of this story is still ahead. Silence. Only the distant hum of the air conditioning remained. Ethan slowly removed his work gloves. Then, he reached for the old baseball cap. Claire frowned. He lifted it off. For a moment, she simply stared. Her face lost every trace of color. She couldn't finish his name. He removed the clear work glasses. There was nowhere left to hide. I never left you, Claire. I was here. The whole time. Her hand covered her mouth. No. Tears streamed down her face. No. I thought... I know. Ethan stepped closer. I heard every word. I heard your regrets. I heard your fear. I heard the truth. She began crying openly. I was so afraid. I know. I thought you would leave me someday. I wasn't looking for someone younger. I wasn't looking for anyone else. I was trying to grow old with you. Neither of them spoke. Nearly 2 years of pride disappeared in complete silence. Finally, Claire whispered, Is it too late? Ethan looked at her for a long moment. I honestly don't know. But this is the first honest conversation we've had in years. And maybe that's where second chances begin. She stepped forward and wrapped her arms around him. Not because everything was suddenly fixed, but because for the first time, neither of them was hiding behind fear. If this story reminded you that love often fails because people stop being vulnerable, not because they stop caring, please like this video, subscribe, and tell us in the comments. What destroys more relationships? Pride or fear? Sometimes the greatest second chance begins with one person finding the courage to speak first.